Hi everybody. Today I want to talk to you about the 6 common mistakes that people do when they apply Feng Shui in business. Okay, 6 common mistakes. Now the very first common mistake that most people commit is that they do not engage the consultant before they even select the premise. Right? This is a big mistake. Then second, apart from this, is that during the renovation, they do not engage the consultant. Now, why this is a mistake? The reason is very simple. Okay, the reason is very simple. Because if you understand the fundamental of Feng Shui, which I have shared in my other videos, that the importance of Feng Shui is always about surrounding land formations, right? And the direction, of course. So these two together decides whether are you going to get good Feng Shui or not. So selecting a right unit is very important, because a unit in the center, a unit in the far left, on the far right, having the stairs on the left or on the right, it makes a difference. So if you do not select the right unit, then later on, maybe 1 or 2 years down the road, you feel that, the business is not doing well, despite I have applied all the business knowledge that I got from my MBAs, from my past experience, but it just doesn't work. And then you decided to engage a Feng Shui consultant. So what can this Feng Shui consultant do now? Because the situation is such, the formation has already been fixed, unless you are willing to move. Otherwise, then maybe you have to do some renovation, some changes to the layout of your office. Well, that is a disruption to the business, number one, right? And you already suffered losses for the last 1 or 2 years. Now that is tough. That makes things even harder, right? So that is why before you even start a business, always do engage a Feng Shui consultant. Now, of course, I'm speaking from the context of what I believe as the real Feng Shui method, right? Of course, there are some consultants who do not need you to do any modification. They just ask you to buy some items, put it in the left corner, right corner, and things like that. Well, I'm not going to comment about that kind of method, right? I'm just going to focus on what I have proven over the years from the industry experience, as well as the results I have given to my clients. Okay. So that is the first mistake. So always remember, if you can engage, select the right unit, do the renovation with the right layout, with the right knowledge, then your business can continue. You have two benefits. Number one, you start off the business on a good footing, right? So chances are you're going to make a profit more than you're going to make a loss. Number two is that you don't need to disrupt the business, because once it's done, you don't need to stop the business for a couple of days to do the renovations here and there, So that saves you a lot of problem, a lot of headaches, right? So that is the first common mistake that most business people commit. Now, the second most common mistake that people commit is that apart from Feng Shui, you need to first select a suitable location for your business. That of course depends on what kind of business you are in, right? There are so many types of business. There are factories, there are retail units, there are offices, corporate office. So it depends on what is the nature of your business. But nonetheless, you need to select a suitable place. Now, I have observed over the years that some people, when you arrive at the place to do the audit, first thing you notice, that location is not suitable for this type of business. So no matter how you try to improve the Feng Shui, you will see the improvement, but you will not see a major improvement, simply because your business and the location doesn't suit. So what I'm trying to say here is that, number one, Feng Shui is not everything, right? Business logic is also equally important, right? Now, number two, the message that I want to deliver is this. Some people always think that Feng Shui is everything. That is not true. You need to also have the right mindset for doing business. So you need to know, is your business requires a retail, for example, if you're in retail, Is it better in a commercial area, or is it better in a near a jungle, you know, that kind of thing? So you have to be clear about your business. So not reviewing through your business and then just believing that Feng Shui will solve everything, that I think is also another mistake that I also commonly see, right? So you have to do the right thing on both sides. They are also important, okay? Feng Shui is not everything, okay? Now the third common mistake that people do is also, what I have noticed over the years is that they do not follow through the recommendations. For example, if you give 5 recommendations, they only do 2 because the interior designer say, oh no, this is not nice, this is not good, yeah. So and or maybe sometimes maybe that 2 solution is the easiest, right? So they only do the 2, whereas and the other 3, the more important ones but the more difficult to be done, they decided to leave it alone. So this is again another fallacy, right? Because if you don't follow through, you don't change the energy. Only you change the small energy, but you don't change the major energy, all right? You don't change the major obstacles. That's the big mistake. I also observed recently. I have an audit on a factory, right? The owner is very sluggish. He feels that he needs to wait for the result of his business, then only he do the changes. Now that is wrong. You need to change the energy. Then the energy will create positive results. So, you see, important is that if you believe in Feng Shui is energy. Energy create results. In the first place, why your business goes down like this is because your business is always having negative energy. That's why it's pulling your business down. So if you don't change that energy, you're not going to see a result. It's just the same. If you're not going to, you say you want to go on diet, you want to keep fit, but you're not going to do anything about it. You want to see your body fit, then only you start to exercise. That doesn't work anyway, I tell you. It just doesn't work, right? So you got to exercise first, then slowly the result will come. So it's the same, because we are all talking about energy, right? Now, and the third, the fourth common mistake is that most businesses are not aware of their surrounding changes. By that I mean, like, sometimes in your environment, you've been in business for 2-3 years, or maybe 5 years or 10 years, and suddenly there's a change in the environment, like, for example, a new highway, a new building, right? Maybe there's a new road coming in, or maybe they have changed the road from left to right to right to left, right? So these are things that could also affect the change in your energy, because as I mentioned earlier, Feng Shui is about land formation, right? So if your land formation outside changes, then things change, the energy change. When the energy change, your result will change, right? That is the way of understanding true Feng Shui, right? So that's why being alert of your surrounding changes is important. And some people are just simply not aware of this. And sometimes this is the one that is causing you some problems. Like I've seen a pond, they have constantly reclaimed a pond. So an owner who was doing well in the past, suddenly he finds that his business is slowing down. So when he engaged me and I have a look, then I found that, and he told me, used to be, it was a very big pond, then the developer reclaimed part of the pond for housing. So then that's the thing. So it affects your Feng Shui formation. So make sure you're alert of your surrounding changes. Now, and then the other fifth common mistakes that people do is that they do not do an audit on a business review, Feng Shui review, an annual Feng Shui review. Because Feng Shui is energy. And as the planets and the stars move, the energy changes every year. That's why different things happen in different years. So it's best that if you are in business, that you do an annual review to ensure that that particular year certain things can be mitigated, right? Because sometimes the rotation of bad stars coming, then suddenly you find that why that year the business suddenly was doing well all the while, then suddenly it has a lot of hiccups. That's because there are certain bad energy arriving at a different place in your office or factory or whatever, restaurants, right? So that's why it causes some disruption to the business. So if you do an annual review, then chances are you can mitigate it earlier, so that before the negative effect sets in, you provide a shield, right? Provide a shield to stop that negative energy from coming in. So this is why. Because Feng Shui is, the theory of Feng Shui is actually very scientific. So if you don't do certain things and when certain stars come at certain sectors, things are bound to happen. Right? If you don't believe me, I have done many cases and I have warned many people ahead of time, and some of them did happen because they ignore the advice, right? So when the things happen, they will come here, right? But then why want to wait until things happen? Then you try to do a remedy, right? Try to prevent. Prevention is better than cure, right? So that's why doing an annual review is very important for businesses, because businesses, you're churning, your turnover is moving every day, right? And it's very important to do that, right? And anyway, this is just a small investment in my opinion. Yeah. Now the last one, the very common mistake is that people like to DIY, do it yourself, right? Because they want to save costs or whatever, I don't know. Now DIY is dangerous because you are not a professional. You have not done enough cases and you depend on books. Number one, you don't know the source of the knowledge, the book, right? The book may be coming from an author, but he may not be a practitioner. And DIY is also dangerous because how much do you understand the theory of Feng Shui, right? So the true theory of Feng Shui will never be sold in a book for what, 40, 50, 60, 100 ringgit? No, it will never be that, right? So it's dangerous that you try to DIY. So why I say this and why I highlight this in this video is because I have many clients who, when they come to me, they told me earlier that they have do a lot of DIY, green dragon door and things like that, right? So they listen to annual Feng Shui talks or put a Feng Shui water here to capture the annual energy, and then they get into trouble. Of course, you won't hear this on their Facebook. Nobody will tell all these things on Facebook. But I hear it from the horse's mouth. So that's why I say this is important. It is important that you do not do DIY, right? So this is very, very crucial. Okay. Yeah. And this is very crucial that you do not do a DIY, because a lot of times you are not sure what you're doing, whether it's correct or not, and you're not aware. And then suddenly the changes come, bam, you're caught by surprise. And now you're into trouble. You try to navigate out of the trouble, but it's too late. Things have happened, right? So these are things that, for example, if you do it wrong, you activate wrongly, suddenly the person got a stroke. Once you get a stroke, your body is already damaged. Doesn't mean that you remove the activation, you become normal again. It will never be normal again. Unless you are lucky, you get a very light stroke, right? But if you get a heavy one, you will never be the same. So why put yourself in harm's way? So this is just some advices that I give to here for people, especially if you're in business. These are the commonly 6 mistakes that people do. And if you think about it, actually they are not worth doing these mistakes, because they are actually avoidable. They actually can be mitigated. So always remember, prevention is better than cure. Don't cure after you have a problem. Things will never be the same again. That's all my advice for today. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.